What's crackulating, Jay Windle?
What's up, Wembley? What brings you here today? Were you trying to solicit prostitutes on Fayette and St. Paul again? Or did you get popped selling loose ones at Lexington Market?
Ha ha, very funny. No man, nothing like that. I'm in real trouble this time. I think the police are finally going to be able to stick it to me after all these years.
What happened?
Well, about 4 months ago over the 4th of July weekend, I was at my mummy's house, chillaxing with my girlfriend. Then I heard banging at the door at about 7:30 a.m. Guess who it was? The Baltimore City Police. They came in with black masks, guns blazing and red beams dancing around the walls and in my chest. The warrant they handed me said that they'd been watching me for 2 weeks and a confidential informant snitched on me.
What did the police say to you? Let me read your charge papers.
They said, everybody to get the fuck down and don't say a word. I was more nervous than Bishop Eddie Long on Judgment Day. I knew I had about 8 ounces of coke on me and a couple bags of weed. I stuffed the coke in my dip and the weed up my ass.
Why stuff the weed as opposed to the coke?
To hide it. They can keep the coke, but I have got to have my weed. They don't call me Smoke Dog for nothing.
Did they arrest you at that time?
Yes, and once I was placed in handcuffs they started to search me.
Did they find anything?
They found the coke in my dip, but they didn't check my underpants, so I was able to keep the weed. You should have seen me trying to keep my butt cheeks clenched together. It was the worst because I had eaten a bratwurst and cabbage sandwich earlier.
Bratwurst and cabbage?
Yes. I was afraid that any moment a fart would slip out and stain my drawers with the sticky icky.
That's funny as hell.
No lie. Can you just imagine forensic investigators examining swatches of my dookie-stained underwear for trace evidence of weed possession?
Ew. Man, that's gross. I certainly wouldn't want to imagine that.
Anyway, once they had the coke, they kept pressing me for a handgun. I told them I don't know where I can get one. They said that's too bad because if I could get a handgun, they'd let me go. Then they said if I did not get a gun, they would not only arrest me, but they'd arrest my 61-year-old mummy and my 20-year-old college girlfriend. I was stuck. They had mummy on the couch in handcuffs and my boopsie on the sofa at gunpoint.
What did you do?
They released one of the cuffs and fastened it to a belt loop in my pants. Then they forced my cell phone into my free hand to make a call. So I called my man Chaiken and told him to get me a gun and place it outside my home on Greenmount Avenue near the street light. I was hoping that he'd be caught and the police would let me go. Chaiken was my boy, but he's a convicted felon too, and that little sucker owes me a lot of money. I figured if the police saw him with the illegal handgun, they'd nab him and release me for my good deed, or at least reduce my felony drug charge to a misdemeanor. That's what they'd promised me anyway.
Man, you're cold in the game.
Well, my ass was on the line, literally. There's no honor among criminals these days anyway.
Bear witness to the truth. All the hustlers say. Church. Wembley, you may be finally learning, do your dirt by your lonely. I'm so proud.
Whatever, man. Besides, the police have blue light cameras on Greenmount Avenue in front of my house. It would have been easy to identify Chaiken even if he'd escaped detection.
You fell for that? Don't tell me you fell for that. That's the oldest trick in the book. How are you going to be a hustler and be so damned naive at the same time? You need to find a job, a hobby, or something else to do. Have you tried Chick-fil-A? I heard the cow's now serving fried gizzards. Did this happen in Baltimore City or some other county?
Baltimore City. And I couldn't keep a job even if I was a pie taster tasting pies in a pie factory. I'm just not built for the 9 to 5.
Baltimore City? I know once the police recovered the gun they charged you with, it didn't they?
Yes, those lousy Pecker Woods. They charged me with possession of a firearm, possession with intent to distribute cocaine, and possession of a firearm in relation to a drug trafficking crime. They also charged me with a myriad of other related offenses. Now I'm facing 40+ years of incarceration.
So you now have the coke and a gun. You know possessing a gun in relation to a drug trafficking crime in Maryland carries a mandatory minimum penalty of 5 years imprisonment and a maximum of 20. Did they ever find the weed?
No. They never found the weed. Jay Wintle, you know me. I would never surrender my stinky stink to anyone without a struggle. It's bad enough I could be facing all this jail time. I need my vegetables.
You're lucky to be sitting in front of me, and not the other way around through a bulletproof glass or iron grate. You are even more lucky to make bond, because in Baltimore City, drugs, plus a gun, equals indefinite pretrial detention and a very high bail, if any at all. You could have been warehoused until your court date. And they would have had no problem letting you languish until they were ready to deal with you. It wouldn't matter if you were innocent or guilty.
I know.
You don't know. Wembley, you don't get the time back unless you're found guilty and your sentence matches or exceeds the time actually served. If you're found not guilty, you won't even get so much as an apology.
I can imagine that. Baltimore City doesn't apologize to anyone, especially to someone of my ilk.
I've known people in Baltimore City to easily sit in jail on a gun charge for 1.5 to 2 years just waiting on a trial date, damn being convicted and sentenced for a crime. The court system is so backed up that they don't have enough judges, prosecutors, and courtrooms to try everyone in a timely manner. The constitutional right to a speedy trial is a legal fiction in this town.
Apparently so is the right against self-incrimination.
That too. It's all unconstitutional, but you'll need a real warrior like myself to assert and defend your rights.
That's why I'm here, Mr. Gordon. After the cops charged me with a handgun and cocaine, my bail was initially $500,000. Then at my bond review, it was increased to $1 million. Luckily, the bail bondsman hooked me up.
Hooked you up?
Yes, he did.
Hooked you up to what?
You know what I mean.
No. I don't know what you mean. What do you mean hooked you up?
I was allowed to put up 1% instead of the customary 10%. But it still cost me $10,000 in cash. If not, I'd still be in that musky pee-pee smelling Zombieland Central bookings. I wouldn't wish the bookings on my worst enemy. The funk alone in that place is palpable. You can cut it with a knife.
Well, the good thing is we should be able to obtain a more detailed copy of your phone records than the summaries produced in Discovery, and based upon the police report I just read, it clearly states you were placed in custody at 7:45 a.m., and 30 minutes later at 8:15, police said they discovered the gun. According to police phone record summaries, while still handcuffed and in custody, you're calling Chaikin around 8 a.m. Just 15 minutes later a gun is found under the streetlight. I can work with that.
Not only that, but because what the police were asking me to do was so bizarre, I discreetly hit the record button on my cellular phone so I can get you the recording of the conversation advising me to get the gun. It's still saved on my phone.
Good, get me the recording. Obviously the recording of Chaikin would be an illegal wiretap, but the overheard police conversation with you may be fair game. I'll get the video footage from the blue light surveillance cameras for that portion of Greenmount Avenue to make a case of entrapment with the handgun. Because of the police misconduct and glaring credibility issues, there's a possibility that we could get the entire case thrown out of court or get a not guilty verdict. If we are unable to negotiate an amicable resolution and are forced to go to trial, I'll resort to my full arsenal of trial strategies. However, absent a full-blown trial, you may have to go down for the coke.
I can go down for the coke. This is Baltimore City. Just like some of the people in this town, I have a drug addiction, or at least that's what I'll say. I'll get evaluated by a professional, and he'll say the same. They will recommend me for drug treatment or some other program to help with my addiction, and this thing will soon blow over. It's just that I can't qualify for the program with a handgun due to my prior criminal record. My past is somewhat violent. However, I should be able to get into the program if we can beat the gun charge. This is my only chance. It may be cunning in some small sense, but you just can't play a crooked game straight. I've got to be shrewd.
Well, I think if you truly have a drug problem you should get treatment. That's not being cunning or shrewd, that's getting help. Yourself and the community are better served if you get treatment. And if we're successful in gathering the evidence to prove entrapment, we'll beat the handgun charge altogether. Also, with the drug addiction mitigation, I should be able to get the felony distribution charge reduced to a misdemeanor and the remaining counts dismissed. That way, we'll plead guilty to the possession and you can get into a drug program. We should be able to get a suspended sentence and probation. If we can do all these things, this too shall pass. But I want you to get a job. You're not very good at drug dealing. Besides, you're 42 years old. Isn't there something else you'd rather do to keep from having to look over your shoulders every waking moment?
Ha ha ha. Are you kidding? Nope. I will die for my trade. I always say, if at first you don't succeed, redefine success. It's always the second mouse that gets the cheese anyway.
What a dumbass statement. How many more of those do you have?
Plenty.
I'm not surprised. You probably will die for your trade just like you said. My best legal advice to you is to do something else. I'm very serious about you finding some other line of work.
And I'm very serious about remaining in my current line.
Anyway, my fee is $10,000.
I gave 15 to your secretary when I arrived. Keep the change.
You call $5,000 change? You arrogant Baltimore City Englishman. However, I will keep the money as you wish.
It's not arrogance. I had a feeling what your fee was going to be before I got here. I just wanted to give you a bit extra because I respect your work and appreciate your taking my case on such short notice.
Short notice? What short notice? When is your court date?
Besides, you always told me the only thing worse than a bad lawyer is a cheap lawyer.
I did say that. I should probably be charging you double. Again, when is your court date?
Anyway, thanks for all of your help. See you in court tomorrow.
Tomorrow? This is some bullshit. What do you mean tomorrow? Wembley, you always do this. You know we can't prepare this case at the last minute. You said this happened 4 months ago. Why did you wait until the day before trial to come in and retain me? I'll have to postpone the case so that we can gather our evidence. I'll see you then. Take care of yourself and stay out of trouble.
I will, for now anyway. Postpone the case and do as you must, warrior lawyer. I'm handing this problem over to you.
That's cool. You can make it my problem and I'll gladly handle it. But do yourself a favor, try not to create any new ones. Not for my sake. I'll continue to represent you, so long as you can afford to pay my fees, because I'm a professional and that's what I do. But for your own sake, so you don't have to pay me for any legal services at all.
I'll do my best. But Jay Wintle, I don't mind paying you. I've always received favorable results under your representation. You are one of the best lawyers around, and definitely the best that's ever represented me.
Why, thank you, kind sir. I certainly appreciate the compliment.
By the way, you know what? I think I'm going to share this story of entrapment with BeMoreNews.com. I know Donnie Glover will be interested in a story such as this, especially since it involves his beloved Baltimore City Police.
Wait a minute. I don't recommend you sharing this story with Donnie or any other media outlet just yet.
Well, I know Donnie.
I know Donnie too. And trust me, I support everything he does and vice versa. BeMoreNews.com is an excellent and credible news source. But they don't need a story like this, and you don't need the publicity. Despite the entrapment, you did get caught with 8 ounces of cocaine. Take it easy.
Well, he's a friend, but more importantly a fair and balanced responsible journalist. I'm sure he'd find this story quite newsworthy. He may even post it on his website. You know he gets over 1 million hits per month. This will be a great way to place the news before the news and uncover the truth.
Why don't you just wait until the case is over before you start sharing it with the public? At this point, you don't need fair and balanced journalism. Wembley, you need an advocate.
All right. If that's your legal advice, then maybe I will. Good day, warrior lawyer. Pip pip.
That is my legal advice. Good day, Wembley. And what the hell does pip pip mean?
Pip pip is English parlance. It simply means farewell. Thanks again, warrior.
As always, you're welcome. Farewell, Wembley. Be safe.